Hi, good afternoon, everybody. The lunch slot, always a great one to get. We are all thank you for the introduction. We're all very excited about VR. We actually just launched our application today. What we do, let me go to the next slide. Inception is the name of the company, and what we do, we provide a platform to watch new entertainment. We hope to be revolutionizing entertainment. In a nutshell, be a little bit like the Netflix of VR. So we have a broad range of content in there, ranging from music to arts and culture to lifestyle. And what we provide are interactive experiences. And again, you can download these apps on Cardboard, on iOS, on Android, on Samsung Gear, on Oculus Rift. And down the road, of course, it'll also be available on HTC Vive and Sony PlayStation, Daydream, and the rest. So again, I encourage you to download it. But that's not why I was asked to talk here today. Before I had tried VR, I met someone who was very excited about VR, and he told me all about VR. And I said to him, I've never tried it. Can you explain to me what is it like? And he started using a lot of words and a lot of hand gestures. And then at one point he stopped and he said, trying to explain VR to someone who hasn't tried it is like when we were in the 7th grade and we got sex education classes. It sounded really great, but we didn't really get it. So it's a little bit about like that. And of course, when you actually put the headsets on and when you actually have VR, you feel like you're teleported to another world, you transition to somewhere else. But when we started to look at the available content out there, what we saw was that most of the content, actually what it did was, it took a 360 camera and it tried to emulate all of the rules and all of the knowledge from the old world, from the cinematic world. When actually, VR is very, very different. It's got different rules, different behaviors for the directors, for the consumers. So we decided we need to look at VR in a completely different way. We need to do things that are born for VR. And what I was hoping to do in the next 15 minutes that I have is share with you some of these principles that we learned throughout these experiences as we tried to create this new content. The first thing that we saw was that actually VR gives you the opportunity to redefine time and space. Why? This is a video that we did for a UK singer called Kyla LaGrange. Maybe some of you know her. And what we did here is we divided the sphere into 3 parts. And each part dealt differently with time. So one part was just a regular music video. One part played in slow motion. And the third part actually moved backwards. So what it actually did was it gave a very curious experience if you were watching. Depending on where you looked, you got a different kind of interaction with Kyla. So it actually gave you a unique opportunity and took advantage of the whole sphere. The second principle talks about split views. In traditional cinemas, sometimes they actually split the screen in the middle, like 24, Jack Bauer, or some other movies that we saw out there. But typically, it's not best practice. Why? Because the screen is very small. It's not, what they usually do is they do cuts, right? They take a cut from one shot to the other. Well, in VR, there's enough space. So what you can actually do is you can divide the sphere into 180 degrees. And what you have here, this is the musical Wicked. Who in the audience have seen Wicked? Hands up. Quite a few. So it's now the 10-year anniversary of Wicked, and we went behind the scene with Time Out and with Wicked. And the story is about 2 witches, the good witch and the bad witch, the green witch and Galinda, the beautiful witch. And actually what you can do is, it's hard to illustrate here, but in VR you can actually decide, where do you want to look? Do you want to look at the bad witch, the good witch? What part is more interesting to you? Again, hard to articulate on a regular screen, but again, imagine this in VR. If you're on the left, you're with the green witch. If you're on the right, you're with Galinda, the beautiful witch. And done. The next thing is the story about the role of the viewer. Who here has seen the movie Silence of the Lambs? Remember, it was a big hit years ago. Thank you. Okay, almost everybody. It was a big deal. We had Anthony Hopkins, he was the serial killer. We had Jodie Foster, the young detective who was trying to figure out. And we had the victim. And there's one very famous scene where the victim is put in a hole by the serial killer, Buffalo Bill. And we're all looking down at her as she's in the hole and he's telling her to put the lotion. Very eerie scene. Well, what we did here, this is a video that we did for the #1 DJs called Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike. And what we are actually in the hole with them. Again, hard to articulate on a regular movie, in a regular screen. But you guys again are welcome to our booth outside to try this out. But you're in the hole, and as you're looking around you, you're looking at these ladies who are singing with you. And if you're looking up, you see the sky, and you see the people looking down on you. Because the role of the viewer in this video, you're not just someone who's looking down, you're actually in the hole. That was the sensation that we tried to give the viewer in this video. And that's what's so powerful in VR. You get to decide, what do you want the viewer to be? The next bit I want to talk about is about perspective. You know, Dali, everybody knows Dali. He's got some very famous paintings. We were very, very lucky. We got the opportunity to work with the Dali Foundation. There's a fantastic museum of Dali in Figueres in Spain. It's about 2 hours north of Spain, of Barcelona. And we worked with them to try and bring to life some of Dali's work in VR. Why? Because their agenda, they have a wonderful agenda to try and see how they can get the message of Dali to as many people in the world as possible. But again, you know, when you see a Dali picture, when you go to a museum, you're just looking at a picture. With VR, you can actually go into the picture. And what we did with CGI, we actually constructed the picture itself. And see, right now, again, you can see the 2D version of this. You can actually go behind. This is Leda Atomica, for those of you who know art. And you know, think about it. You've never seen Leda Atomica from behind. Does she even have a behind? Well, actually, yes, she does, but you wouldn't know it if you were just looking from the picture. And we reconstructed this together with the Dali Foundation, with the museum, and it's a completely different experience. And if you see this in our booth later, in VR, it's even more powerful because you're in the picture. So it's, again, something very powerful. The next thing I want to talk about is the viewer as a director. In traditional cinema, there's a director and he decides what he wants the viewer to look at. That's why he's deciding which shot, which scene, when to cut what. But in 360, he can't really tell you where to look. So because the video is happening all around us, you know, even though the main scene is happening here, I may be looking all the way to the back. I decide, I'm the director. So one thing about that is the VR gives you an opportunity. If the viewer is going to be that independent, well, we may as well give them the opportunity and give them more power to do so. So what we did this here, we created a new music format that places you in the studio of an artist. In this case, this is as a Harcourt. And as you see, this is his studio, and several items within the studios get highlighted. And depending on what the viewer is interested in, that is the video that will get triggered. You want to hear the story behind the piano? You want to hear the song when he's playing the guitar? Do you want to know why there's a pair of gloves on the wall? You decide. So again, this interactivity element and you deciding what is interesting. It's not a linear video anymore. It's the user guiding his experience.
En las estaciones más frías. Oh, and even when I'm fighting in the dirt for no reason, you confess that you still love me.
Okay, just letting you enjoy the song a little bit. We did something similar for the Mystery Jets. For those of you who know the Mystery Jets, this is their studio where they do all of their magic happens. Same thing, drums highlighted, a life jacket, the television. Why is the television highlighted? Whatever triggers your imagination, whatever you are curious about, that's the video that gets triggered. Sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's a talk, a very different experience. The next point I want to talk about is the notion of gamification. You know, VR stemmed from gaming. We all know that. That's actually the industry that's making money. That was the industry that came about first. And then on the other side, we had entertainment, which was linear videos. But actually, right now, there is the opportunity to find the intersection between these two things. So this is another video that we did, for example, for Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, where as you're watching their video, you're in the club in Ibiza with them, you're dancing, and you get a choice. Where would you rather see the video? Would you rather go to the pool, or would you rather go to the beach? Where would you rather, what's the groove that you're in? Where would you rather listen to this music? If you chose the pool, you'll be taken to the pool, and now you're listening to the music and you're dancing in the pool. If you feel like going to the beach, you'll go to the beach. So adding interactivity elements into the video enhances the user experience and again brings the VR experience to a much more powerful level. One more element of VR that I think is an opportunity for all of us is timeliness. This is a video that I'm showing you. There was a temporary exhibition. Ron Arad is a famous designer. He was asked by the Roundhouse in London to celebrate their 10-year anniversary to create a special exhibition. And what he did, he created a spherical structure of 6,000 silicon rods on which you can project. And he invited 60 or 70 artists to create special exhibitions to be shown on this spherical structure. It's a phenomenal exhibit, and for those of you in London, you should go check out the Roundhouse. But this is a temporary exhibition, and it won't be around, you know, a year from now or 2 years from now, except it will now because we've captured it in VR. So for those of you who want to go and see temporary exhibitions across the globe, step over to a booth, put on your goggles, and you're in the Roundhouse looking at this very unique experience. So once again, VR brings a new opportunity to change some of the things that we've known. My last point for the talk is all about intimacy. And I don't mean intimacy, you know, typically when you say intimacy in VR, everybody thinks porn. We're not doing that. But there is a good way, there's a good way to talk about intimacy. VR lets you get much closer and much both emotionally as well as physically to the characters that you're viewing. And this is actually, we have an independent film channel on Inception, so not all of the content is ours. We are also distributing other people's content. And this is a young director by the name of Nir Sar, and he did a very moving movie about a poor girl who is persuaded to sell her kidney in order to get some money. I'm not ruining anything. It's a wonderful feature to watch. But what you're seeing here, I wanted to show you just parts of this experience and try and imagine this in VR, how you're with them in the car, you're with them in bed, and you're with them when you get the surgery. Take a look. If we can have the sound up for this one.
אז מה, נאלי? מתרגשת?
האמת שכן.
ברור, בחורה, את הולכת לשנות לעצמך פאקינג את החיים, אנחנו נוסעים לטורקיה!
פאקינג טורקיה!
This is the scene, you're in bed with them. If you were in VR, you would be seeing him on the left and her on the right. And this is the surgery. It feels like you're literally in the surgery in there with her. So guys, what are our main takeaways? Our main takeaways that VR, as far as we're concerned, it's not regular cinema, just, you know, you have a 360 camera. Things have to be born for VR. They have to bear the role of the viewer, the role of the director. They have to create a different storyline, a different kind of intimacy. The good thing is, I think we're starting to see this new type of content. We think we're onto something, and we hope to be creating lots more of this. And we hope you'll come and visit us in the booth later today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.